Hi guys, in today's video I thought I will cover how and why it is important for every data analyst to understand and learn pandas in 2023. So as you're aware, in future versions of Excel, Python is going to be made available as a part of Excel, and one of the most important libraries for data analysis and manipulation in Python is pandas. So whether you're working in Excel to do your data analysis or whether you are going to use Python for data analysis, it is most imperative to learn this library in Python. Now, we live in the age where large language models are generating most of the code for us. So in this day and age where we don't have to write much code, it's more important to have a conceptual understanding on how the libraries and the packages work so that we can tweak the code. So we don't have to write so much code, but we should learn what each method means, what are the conceptual understanding of that, and how we can tweak the code generated by the large language models. So I'm going to cover a lot of concepts and tricks on how we can learn this in pandas quickly and how we should approach learning pandas in this year. So in this topic, in this series, I'm going to be covering the following topics: how to load custom data in pandas, because we're going to start by creating our own small data set. It's important to understand the basics, and then we can move into larger data sets. What are the different techniques for selecting rows and column data in pandas, how we can do masking, filtering, and also add new columns, and how we can do data wrangling tasks in pandas. Then data analysis using the inbuilt methods and functions in pandas. What are the most commonly used methods for data analysis in pandas? We'll talk about hierarchical and multi-indexing and how to use it in pandas, and concatenating and merging new data in your pandas data frame. And then we can later on see how we can apply this to a larger project. If you are interested to follow along, you can follow along. I'll be using Jupyter notebook for this series. And if you want to understand how to configure your Conda and Jupyter notebook environments, I'll leave a link in the description to another video that I made on the series. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for all the latest in data analysis in Python and Excel. So let's dive right into it. So first we'll talk about loading a custom data in pandas. Okay, so let us see this. I'm going to add some rows below. Okay, so first we're going to create a data variable, and here I'm going to create a dictionary object of the data that I'm going to use. So I will say let's create an object. It's a very simple data set I'm going to create. So let's create here a dictionary object contains key value pairs, and in this case the each key value pair will represent a column. So name is the name of the column, and we're going to create, it's a list of names. So let's say Jane, John. Again, it's very important to get to the basics so that you can start with a small data set, and it doesn't matter. Once you understand the concept, you can apply to any large data set. Peter, Jake, and let's say Paula. All right, now let's give another column name, and we'll say age, and this is a list of integers. That is, you can say 34, 56, 45. Random, they should be of equal length, the list size. Now let's take another column. Let us do occupation, and let us give them different occupations. Let's say doctor, lawyer, okay. Then what else we want to say? Nurse, again doctor, and teacher. All right, and now let's hit on enter, shift enter, and run this. Okay, now let us import the pandas library. Import pandas as PD. This is a standard aliasing we follow. Okay, now pandas has two main objects, that is the data frame class and the series class. We'll talk about series a little bit later. So data frame is one of the core fundamental classes in pandas that is used to create data frame, which is basically you can consider as a table or a two-dimensional labeled array. So let us create a data frame now. So data frame equal to PD dot data frame, and here we pass in the data object that we have created. Okay, so data as the argument, and we pass the data object, and let's run this. Now if you see, if I call the data frame, you can see it has returned to me a table. Okay, the column names we have are the names of the keys here: name, age, occupation, and it has five rows. You can verify this by doing data frame dot shape, and see it shows you it's a table of 5 rows and 3 columns. Okay, you can also get the list of the column names by saying data frame dot columns. All right, now we have loaded this data frame, okay, from a simple data object. Now let us see some techniques for accessing the rows and the columns in this data frame. Okay, so again, let me add some rows below. Okay, now let's take a look at that. So for accessing the rows and columns, there are two ways of accessing. One is using iloc, that is index location, and other is loc. So iloc, basically we access the rows and columns by its index location, and by using loc we access it by the names. Okay, that is the column names and the index names. So let's take a look at iloc. Now let us call this data frame again. You can also call the rows of the data frame or the first few rows by using the head function. Okay, and here it returns the first 5 rows. So say I want to access now only the rows from the 0th position to the 3rd position. Again, this follows the same indexing that we use for list or numpy arrays or for other string types. If you want to take a deeper look into that, I've made a lot of videos on indexing using strings, lists, tuples and numpy arrays. I'll leave a link to all those videos in the description. You can take a look and refresh yourself. If not, I will cover that in this topic as well, but it helps to know how indexing works in Python. Now Python follows 0 based indexing. That means the first index starts from 0. Let's see if I want to access the rows only from 0 to the 3rd row. Okay, so let's say, so for that you can use data frame dot iloc. Okay, now always start with a comma. I like this as a best practice because what is before the comma represents the rows and what is after the comma represents the columns. Okay, so I want to access from 0 to 3, so I give 0 to 4 because Python follows 0 based indexing and the last index is not included. And I want to access the column, say, from 0 to 2, so I give 0 to 2. That means the 0th column and the column at position 1. So you can see it has given me from 0 to 3 and only the first 2 columns, right? Now I can do something like, also I say I want to access again from 0 to 4. So same thing, same indexing principles that we follow. Okay, iloc again, let's see, I'll say 0 until the end and all the columns. So it returns all the rows and all the columns. Now say I want to access only the row at 0 position, the row at 2nd position and the row at 4th position. I don't want to access it from 0 to 2 or 0 to 4. I just want to access these 3 rows, right? So how do I do that? And I want to access only 2 columns. So again, you can use the iloc and you can specify the exact index you want. So data frame dot iloc. Okay, again, start at the square brackets, type the comma first because that will help you identify the rows and the columns. Again, what is before is the rows, what is after is the columns. So I will say here you need to give a list of the rows you want. So I will say 0, 2, 4, and the list of the columns I want, I'll say 0 and 2. So only name and occupation. And I hit shift enter and it sees 0, 2nd and the row at position 4 and name and occupation only. That is how we access by index location. Now say we want to access by the names. You want to give the column names and the index names. So that you can use loc. So data frame, again, use loc. Okay, here again, start by hitting the comma first. Okay, now say I want to access the rows from 0 to 4. So in this case, I mentioned 0 to 4. Again, this is not indexing. Don't confuse this with indexing because this is accessing it by the values. So it will include all the rows from 0 to 4, not like iloc where it includes only from 0 to 3, right? And the column names. Here I need to give the list of the name of the column. So I'll say only name and hit enter. You can see it accesses from 0 to 4, unlike iloc, and it gives only the name column. I want to add more columns. So again, I'll do data frame dot loc. I want to access only specific rows and specific columns. So let's pick again 0, 1 and 2. So start with a comma. I'll give a list of the rows I want, 0, 1, 2, and the list of the name of the columns, that is, and name and age. Let's do name and age. and you can see it has worked well. This will also work. This is numeric indexing. It also works for name-based indexing, right? So now we have seen these two functions. In the next session, I'll be covering masking, filtering, how to filter and mask, how to do filtering and Boolean masking using data frames, and how to add new columns. So basically, we'll talk about how to filter your data sets into subsets and how to add new columns and how to manipulate the data. Do follow along my series. If you like this video, do leave a like and a comment, and do not forget to subscribe to my channel for all the latest on data analysis in Python and Excel. Thank you.